Well, good morning, everybody. I clearly don't have my phone on silent, so let me just do that because as we go live, I get a million notifications. So, good morning. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. And I have with me again today Joanne Naranjo. Excuse me, Joanne. I was before for a couple of interviews on all sorts of things going on.
Right.
Today we're going to be talking about pole shifts and preparedness. I think what's happening in the world right now is most definitely lots of changes going on. I mean, we're hearing it all over. And I think all we have to do is really just look at where we're at in the world right now and what's going on. There's no doubt that there is something going on. I have to say, I'm just happy that I kind of am aware of this, because if I wasn't, I'm not quite sure where I'd be right now. Yeah. So welcome back, and thank you for joining me.
So good to be back.
How are you?
Yeah, I think 2022 has literally been an accelerant to kind of phenomenon. I'm not sure. There was a movie a while ago called Just Look Up or Look Up, and it kind of had that, people were warning about impending things happening and no one was paying attention. It's kind of like being glued to your cell phone all day, and it's I think the biggest disease of our generation is being addicted to the phones and the tablets and everything. So just lately, so many different things have been noticed in the sky, especially if you're a keen observer of sunrise, sunset, things that happen in the stars, you'll have noticed that the sky is a very distinctive red at certain times of the day, or during sunrise, dawn, or dusk. And you might think, oh, but it's just an African sunset. We're very blessed. It's so beautiful. But it's not. It's kind of globally. And people are saying, okay, but what's the cause? So the theories are that there's iron oxide in the upper layers of the atmosphere, turning the sky very red. And then there's been an increase of quite severe earthquakes. We've had two only last week in South Africa. On Saturday, I think we had one in Durban, which is unusual, to say the least. A couple of days before that, we had one in Western area, close to there's a pocket of gold mines in that area. And one of the deepest gold mines in the world is there, South Deep. So Laingsburg had a flood last week. It's very unusual, the things that are happening. So there's a theory that's going around that there's a pole shift, an imminent pole shift. Now, not to sound fear-mongery, it's happened before many times in history, where it's been documented, not just in scriptures, but in old texts. And it happens every couple of 1,000 years. So where the magnetic North Pole will tilt or shift out of its normal pathway. And that causes certain weather events to take place. Obviously, earthquakes, tsunamis are a possibility.
But isn't this pole shift that happens, I mean, it's a natural cycle of the way that this planet operates. So, I mean, we've witnessed many changes over the eons, right? So
Exactly.
Would this not be perhaps that which is going on? Is that really there is a shift in the polarization, for sure, It's
Yes.
like we're moving into a different age now as well. So really,
Correct.
what
Age of
we're
Aquarius.
experiencing, yeah. So everything is beginning and everything is changing. So for me, you know, that would really be a natural phenomena, if you will, that is
Correct.
occurring. And instead
Correct.
of us, the way I see it, instead of us being educated on what that's about, we are being told it's dramatic and climate change and we're destroying this
Right.
and we're destroying that. And it's because we as the humans are so bad that the planet is now doing this and the ice is melting and the polar bears are suffering.
Correct.
I do believe all these things are happening. But, you know, for me, there's that, as well as a huge amount of weather manipulation going on at the
100%.
moment from the controllers, because we see that
100%.
all the time. I mean, look at what's happening in Australia, you know, with their weather manipulations here. It wouldn't surprise me if we've got the same thing going on here at the moment as well, you know, but
Well,
it could either be that or really just the shift in the Earth's natural cycles.
no, definitely. And that's why I said, if you look at the natural cycles of shift, I mean, it was 704 BC, 1398 BC, 266 BC, and again 2000 BC. Those are some of the significant, if you want to call it, pole shifts that occurred and were very well documented. And then one of the biggest things were I think, the Leonid meteor storm of 13 November 1833, where such a significant event occurred that, I mean, the Earth was just showered with meteorites, and it caused a great cataclysm for the people of that time. This time, however, I think why it's so spoken about, I mean, and for the viewers that are interested to learn more, I don't want to delve into much of the allegations and stuff. There are several groups that they can go and join on Facebook. There's one called Surviving the Pole Shift South Africa. And then there are several international groups that they can, you know, go and just learn a bit more about the difference between the magnetic pole and obviously what you would call the true north. So there's two poles that they discuss. And the significant part of what's happening now is the fact that people are alleging that the planet Nibiru is close to Earth. And that's what's causing all the great upheaval. And that's what's causing all the weather manipulation to shroud everything in this kind of secrecy. You know, you can't see the sky. It's always being sprayed. We know this. It's been carrying on for years. But it's just been increasing in the last while. There was a massive cloud bank in Gauteng maybe 2 weeks ago. It was visible from Potchefstroom to Vereniging. I mean, that's an incredible distance. So if you look every couple of days, you'll see the spray lines, and then 2 days later there's rain or there's cloud. It's almost as if you never get a really good clear sky day. And there's pictures of two suns or something next to the moon, or, you know, there's always this like shroud of mystery going on. And this is what's upsetting people, is the fact that there's not really clarity about what's happening. So they're throwing the pole shift and the planet Nibiru into one kind of blender. But apart from whatever cataclysm the human race may face, we need to be prepared for anything that could happen. And that, I think, is the main purpose of everything, is what do we do if anything goes wrong?
So before we move on to what to do, I mean, let's rather talk about the physical before we get there. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the physical manifestations of this pole shift. So then what are you saying we can, on this planet, can expect when, when we're having this pole shift or this
Right.
climate meltdown, whatever you want to call it?
Okay, so the theory is that as the magnetic North Pole starts tilting and it's on a kind of on a spiral to get to 40 degrees, which is what they call critical, a critical tilt. And you can go look up on texts. There's biblical texts, there's Greek texts, there's ancient Sanskrit, and the Mayans kind of point towards this type of cataclysm where the North and South Pole suddenly shift. Now, for you and me, suddenly would mean a click of a finger, but in the context of suddenly on the scale of the Earth or the planet is a bit different. It would be a 3 or 4 day event where there might be subductions in some parts of the world, where certain parts of continents may dip into the ocean, certain parts may rise from the ocean as the continents pull away from each other and shift into a new geolocation. So what would happen is, theoretically, Russia would be closer to the equator. Africa is, I think, still one of the very blessed continents. We would remain the most stable out of everything. Coastlines will obviously get affected. It's a given, whether we are in a cataclysm or not. There's always the chance of a unfortunate event like the tsunami of 2006. I was in Durban at the time, and we got smacked in Belito a couple of days later. So we can expect severe earthquakes, like the collapsing bridges that you're seeing everywhere, landslides, mudslides, just general large impact events, which will affect a large amount of people at the same time or simultaneously. So that's kind of what we can expect in the event of such a giant pole shift.
Well, the way you're explaining it to me now, it's happening already. I mean, if we're just looking at a lot of the weather changes and the weather conditions, all over the world, we see there's a lot of floods, there's a lot of fires, there's a lot of droughts, there's a lot of extreme weather conditions. There's, the weather for many years now has been changing. It's like we're just looking at our seasons. Our seasons are changing as well. The type of weather we experience in our seasons are changing as well. So it would seem with what you're saying that this has already been going on, for a couple of years already, right?
Exactly. And that's why I think, Chantal, it's going to sneak up on people in such a way that they'll say, it's okay. We've experienced this before, just another earthquake, just another massive hurricane, or it's just. But the theory behind it is that it will be unlike anything ever experienced, and it will be a very significant 3 to 4 day event. And then there'll be a week or 2 weeks after where the waters, the oceanic waters and the fresh water, will reposition itself. New land masses will rise, say, specifically between South America and Africa. In that stretch between the two tips, a new massive land mass will arise. So, it's okay to say, but it's happened before. Nothing like this in this magnitude that they're alleging it has happened before. So
well, I think any shift like that is dramatic, whether
yes.
it is a 10-day event or a 3-day event for us human beings. That I mean, nature is huge and it's very dramatic. So it's not so much about whether we've had it so bad before or not. I think it's a heck of a thing to experience no matter what. As you're saying, so, obviously we have had it before and we have seen how the continents, etc., have changed. So if that is what's in store for us, we can expect a similar thing. But that does mean then, I guess what you're saying is that as humans, we need to prepare ourselves for this and not see it as the demons taking over and we are now losing. It's really not that. It's really that's the way I see it anyway. Okay, it's nature doing what nature does, and we are privileged.
It follows a structural command. It can only do what it is commanded to do according to the laws of nature, if you want to call it like that.
Absolutely.
I think
then, of course,
it's like
we as humans,
as a mom, you forget. The minute you hold that baby, you forget all the pain, but it's a process. So, there's scripture that says that the earth is like a woman in labor, all these birth pangs that we're experiencing now. So there's, and they increase, and that's the thing. They will increase in intensity until it's given birth to a complete new shift.
Yeah.
This generation that we're in currently cannot really remember anything of a previous cataclysm because they haven't really gone through something as significant. I think also in South Africa, we're very, very, very secluded from major natural disasters. In a way, we don't really experience anything such as in America. I've got a friend in the Philippines. She's a doctor and she's also a prepper. And I mean, the videos that they've shared over the last couple of days after the severe hurricane that they've just had is just unbelievable what those people have suffered the last couple of generations. I mean, they are, in my opinion, some of the greatest survivors on the planet. They're astounding because they just seem to bounce back every time. However, they are preppers. Those people are prepared. They, I mean, you can obviously only do so much against a wall of water or severe wind or mudslides, but I think if you have it ingrained in yourself to expect the worst and prepare for it. So yeah, and I think education in this instance is the best weapon. You know, you really can't emphasize that enough. Just to say, you know, not fearmonger, but educate so that at any moment you can tackle anything that comes your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, you know, we've become so ignorant to what's going on around us as well, you know, especially as you say, with all our technology, with everything that we have, we disconnect from what's going on around us. So it might be a good little wake-up call for all of us, you know.
Exactly. So something you might find interesting, Chantal, I don't know if you've heard of the Zeta Talks.
No.
Okay, so the Zeta Talks were a series of, I'll just bring it up quick, Zeta Talk, something you can go look at. They have, I'll send you the website after. It was a series of the Zeta Reticuli people that spoke to a lady in 1995 and they told her also about the impending pole shift and what can be expected. So, you know, some of the listeners might find it interesting just to go and have a look at that. It's a lot of information, so, you know, not a topic that we could cover on a session, but it's called Zeta Talk, Direct Answers from the Zeta Reticuli people. So
well,
that's just another.
If you can give us a
Yeah,
link
I'll
to
send you a
that,
link.
we can post it.
Yeah. Where they kind of mention specific places, you know, safe zones for the pole shift. I must just tell everyone listening that Africa, and specifically South Africa, is one of the safest places to be.
It's always been said. It's always been predicted
100%.
that Africa, South Africa in particular, is the breadbasket for the world.
Correct.
You know, at the end times. So yeah, I would imagine, but also because the continent is so rich, you know, and although we've been, in my opinion, that's why I say this, is because we've been lied to into believing that Africa is so overpopulated. It's actually
exactly, and that we're so small.
Yeah. And we're huge. I mean, we're the most,
Yeah,
and I mean,
Africa's a
South
massive
Africa is
continent.
probably close to the size of Europe. Well, maybe not quite, but you know, it's a big country. So, you know, we are not overpopulated. We have great resources here.
I mean,
And
if you take the world population and we stand shoulder to shoulder, we'll all fit in the state of Florida.
yeah,
You know, so I think the other reason is that we have good arable soil. You know, we have very good agricultural soil. We do have lots of pockets of natural occurring water, and that's going to be a big thing in any event, is to secure water. Secondly, if you look at all the fault lines across the world, obviously you've got very active areas like the Ring of Fire and near Japan, Philippines, around Australia. Those areas are always seismically very active. Africa is lucky in the sense that there are no fault lines that divide the continent anywhere. It just goes all around the continent. And obviously, like I said previously, the coastline is always an area of concern. But higher ground, you know, in the immediate interim is kind of what you want to do. So the other interesting thing is that they're calling it that the African plate is rolling at the moment in the north. So you'll notice a couple of earthquakes that have occurred near Cyprus, one in Italy now, quite a big one in Turkey, and it's kind of out the ordinary as well. I do know that the HARP stations are working overtime.
yep,
You know,
they surely
are being fired up ridiculously.
Yeah, they surely are.
Yeah. So, yeah, are there any kind of questions that you would want to ask regarding the pole shift? You know, what?
I think, you know, I think for me, it's important that we can kind of be prepared, you know. As you say, it's like waking up to the underbelly of the world and understanding what's been happening and what the elite pedophile rings have been up to for so long.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant thing to wake up to. And, you know, many of us can turn our heads and say, okay, well, that's someone else's problem. I'm too sensitive to know about that. Well, that's unfortunately not true. All of us are co-creating. All of us are responsible for what's happening, and all of us need to take responsibility for what's happening.
Yeah,
I want to say the same, you know, I want to say the same here, is that even though it's really not a pleasant thought to think that our beautiful little beach house on the hill, and I want to tell you, yeah, where I live, there are It's prime holiday
Magnificent.
area. There are magnificent homes that stand empty all year and have foreigners come in December and wherever the rest of Africa. And yes, it's uncomfortable to think that your comfortable existence is going to be shattered. Absolutely. Do we know exactly what to expect? No. But I think when we are mentally prepared to expect the unexpected, then we're already on alert. So so I think the next thing that maybe we can address is, what to do. So obviously we want to stock up on water. I know when the turn of the century happened to 2000, there was what was this Y2K or something.
The Y2K. Do you remember the hysteria?
No. And I mean, I was like, what are you guys on about? Seriously,
I know.
And I mean, nothing happened. But I do think, the more we see physically what's going on around us, the more people that are awakening to what's happening around us, we need to be aware. Now, does that mean that those of us who live in apartments and can't go and dig a trench somewhere under our house are now in imminent danger? No, that means nothing, actually. But what you can do is stock up on water, foods like that, that you can make later. Hopefully you'll be able to make fire or whatever, we don't know what's in store.
Exactly.
Seeds. Start planting your veggies, even get tinned foods and stuff, although I'm certainly no fan of tinned foods. But
no, me neither. But I think, basically the rules of prepping and the rules of surviving any disaster is to follow the rules of 3 and 7. So the rules of 3 is as follows. A human being can survive 3 minutes with no air or oxygen, including in sub-zero water. So let's say that's not really particular for South Africans, although the oceanic water in the Western Cape is pretty cold.
Hello, did you swim in Cape Town yet?
No, we were at the beach on Sunday, and I can tell you, I still have brain freeze.
On the hottest day, you can't go swim in that sea. It's like the most insane contrast.
No, it's impossible. It's agonizing. It's so cold. So the brain is a wonderful thing, though. The minute it hits sub-zero water, it preserves all the oxygen to the brain. So you can survive 3 minutes without air or obviously under the water. Then 3 hours with no shelter in harsh environments. So you can survive 3 hours with no shelter in harsh environments, but not in ice water. Obviously, you literally only have 4 minutes, 5 minutes before hypothermia starts setting in. And there is a point of no return for that, unfortunately. Then a human being can survive 3 days with no water, provided you have shelter. So you need to rest to preserve whatever water you have in your body. And if you want to Bear Grylls it, you can filter, this is not medical advice, but you can filter your own urine to drink should you need to. Because if you're about to die, I would rather do that than die.
A lot of the guys in special forces have told me that, actually.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What they did, they would actually even urinate in a container and put it in the sun, so that
just for a bit, condensate. And then if you just take a t-shirt and you can just drain it through the t-shirt, it just filters out all the the proteins or all the bad stuff. And then you can drink that. It could save your life.
And I think we hear these stories about, I remember Carte Blanche many years ago. I don't know if you ever watched. Carte Blanche is our investigative journalistic program here. that has been going since forever and a day, and they're really, really
Yeah.
good. I have to tell you. I always, I mean, I don't watch TV, but I always used to watch them. They're brilliant.
Yeah, they used to
And
be brilliant, I think.
Yeah. I think that they did a show many years ago on people drinking their own urine, and there was a couple that swears by it. And I recently spoke to
Yeah.
someone else again, who and apparently it's like a bit of a drug. Even it's like it gives you a
Yeah, it has allegedly a lot of health benefits, you know, because you're putting back all the electrolytes that you're losing. A lot of tissue salts and a lot of things are filtered through the kidneys. So
absolutely.
Use
so that's a good
cautiously.
one to remember. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
definitely.
You don't. Yeah, I think it's yeah. But anyway, so that is one. Yeah.
And then the last three is a human can survive 3 weeks with no food, provided you have water and shelter. And then your 7 priorities. So those are the threes, and then you have 7 priorities. The first one we just addressed a few minutes ago, your attitude. You have to, as much as possible, remain positive. When I used to do Krav Maga, our instructor used to say, are you breathing? Yes, then you're alive. Nothing else matters. As long as you're breathing, you're alive, and you red safe, you go forward. That's it. You don't go backwards. So your attitude can keep you alive. A lot of people, when they experience shock, people die from shock. And it's very important I think it's important to test yourself if you're a reactive person or if you're not a reactive person. So I think it's good to do maybe 1 or 2 self-defense classes to also ascertain what kind of person you are, and that will help you greatly in your mental preparedness. Then your second priority is first aid. It doesn't have to be a whole pharmacy, but we'll get to that. I'll go through a bug-out bag, and I'll just touch on what first aid things you should have. Thirdly is shelter. So the third thing you need to prioritize is finding shelter where you can stay hidden, warm, and where you can rest. The fourth thing is water. You need to secure water. And then your fifth thing is heat or warmth. So let's say there's, you know, several days of deluge, or God forbid, there's a tsunami. Things are very upside down for weeks after that. So to find a place where you can get warm, get a change of clothing, it's super important. Also where you need to be dry to dress wounds or look at anyone who's injured. And then number 6, signals. So you need to find something that you can make an emergency signal with, whether it be wet wood, burning wet wood for smoke signal, whether you have a flare gun. You know, not everyone obviously will just carry a flare gun around, but it's a very important thing to know. The first 72 hours is literally critical for you to be able to survive until help comes. So you look at a 72-hour period where you need to gather yourself and then start making signals if you're kind of isolated. Whether it's packing an SOS with material that you can find that someone can see from the sky. So that's number 6. And then your 7th priority is food. So that's last on the list. Because when you're pumping with adrenaline, and when your reptile brain kicks into survival mode, the last thing you're really going to think about is food. You know, it is a priority because as the days go by and you start dehydrating, you're going to need energy to sustain yourself. So there's a place in PE, and I just want to say it's not a paid promotion. I'm just mentioning them because I followed them for a year and a half now on Facebook. And for me, they are just the most comprehensive company where it comes to critical thinking about what a person like you and I might need in the event of a disaster. And they are called Bug Out SA. So just Bug Out SA. And they're based in Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape. They have a fantastic online store. And, you know, it allows people to look at a bug out bag and what's in it. So looking at a typical bug out bag, you would need stuff like a tarp where you can build shelter with, emergency sleeping bags. They're very thin, almost like, you know, the emergency fire blankets or the heat blankets, similar to that. Paracord, so you can build a shelter with. It's got a small first aid kit with basic essentials like wound plugs. So it would sometimes have a chest cavity wound plug. You can cut yourself. You can scrape yourself in the event of you know, a disaster.
What's that
you might
called?
need stitches. The first aid kit, so it would have things like thorax, they call it a thorax plug kit. So where you literally, let's say you have a chest wound, you can plug the chest wound, abdominal plugs. So these are for deep wounds. Say, I don't know if you've seen the movie about the tsunami disaster. Can't remember what it's called, but you've got lots of things milling around in the water, underwater, that you can't see. So chances are that you could get cut by wood or metal, and you need to plug those wounds, stop the bleeding, and you might need stitches. So it would have needle and thread, or the nylon gauge thread for stitches, water purification tablets. Those are super important, because you don't know where you're going to get your next fresh water from unless you have a alternative bug out location where you pre-store things. You know, obviously that kind of information you never tell anyone, not even your closest friends and family, because in the event of a disaster, if you're prepared, you're a target. You know, you're going to have hungry people, scared people, desperate people running around. And the worst thing is a desperate man. So you need to secure your provisions and keep it a secret. The other thing is wet wipes. You might not be able to bath for a couple of days, so you'll need to also clean yourself, you know, get rid of whatever, bacteria, doesn't matter. Wet wipes, always a good thing. Do a top and tail. And then freeze-dried food. I'm not a fan, obviously. I mean, it is what it is, but you get an amazing variety of vegan meals, keto meals, you name it, all freeze-dried. And there's another company, I'll send you the link after. They sell in a box of 300 meals. I mean, it's a whack load of money. It's about 60,000 Rand. But you've got a year's worth of food, basically, freeze-dried, and it fits into a box. It's unbelievable, amazing. Then you would need a spork. It's you know, an eating tool, a spoon, a fork, and a knife all together. It's like what you used to get in the army. Sorry, I've got building outside. A torch. Definitely weatherproof, waterproof torches, flashlights are super important. If anything, spend good money on that. It's very important to have something that can get whacked, go underwater, because you're going to need to find your way in the dark. A fixed blade knife, like like Rambo. A really nice Rambo knife that you can bushwhack with. Then a whistle to alert people of your immediate vicinity, especially if it's dark. Compass. That, on second thought, if we're dealing with a pole shift, a compass might not be
ideal,
very handy after, because it will obviously align to what the new north would be, but it might be confusing. Some people also allege that the sun is going to start rising in a different place.
Okay.
So it will rise in the west, set in the east.
Okay, so we
folding handsaw.
We delete the compass.
Well,
you might get confused.
I always think, just in case, just in case, just slap it in there. Rather have it not needed than need it and not have it. Then a folding handsaw. You're going to need to find material to make a fire with, and you get these wonderful, very strong folding handsaw. It's got a thick blade, and I bought one in Uruguay. It was one of the best tools I ever bought. So it's light, easy to carry, but definitely worth it. And then a spade. You get these foldable spades. Several reasons why you need a spade. You're going to need to go to the bathroom at some point, and you need to make it as eco-friendly as possible. So that's one reason to have a small spade. And obviously, if you want to build shelter, plant things, if you get to a place where you need to dig up things to eat, you're going to need that little spade. Then a small fuel stove, those little stoves that they used to get in the army.
The Primus.
Yeah. A Primus, almost like a Primus, and then the fuel tablets. And then a ferro rod and a scraper. The ferro rod is amazing to make fire with. So we just call it a flint, but it's not. The ferro rod is waterproof, it's durable, and it's small. So you just have this rod and the scraper, and it literally makes fire in like 2-3 strikes. And then maybe a solar lantern that you could charge in the day, just to have some light at night. For me personally, I think a change of clothing is always a must. Change of clothing, underwear, and a pair of socks. Your shoes you can dry out. But changing your socks especially is extremely important so that you don't get any foot infections, because then you can't go anywhere. You need to remain mobile. Food, you need to consider that tin foods are very heavy. So to carry around tin foods isn't really practical. You would need to think about things like milk powder if you're a milk drinker. Anything freeze-dried. So as light as possible to sustain you over a couple of days. I think the most important is the water purification tablets for me. If you don't have you also get the straws that you can literally just put into the stream or into a pond and drink through it. It purifies the water as you drink it. Anything to that effect will be super important. And yeah, I think, know where you are going in the case of a disaster. Where are you going to go? You can't be flailing around. You need to have a pre-existing plan, so to speak. Maybe plan A, plan B, plan C. If this happens, I'm going to go there. If you go there, have some provisions that can last you for a couple of days more. If that fails, maybe plan C, plan D. So, everyone's not as fortunate to be able to think about multiple things. But I think as long as you think about it and you start preparing, it can be very daunting. But if you go to the store and you just buy one extra item that you can store away, that's already a beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a little bug out bag.
Exactly. And, another thing I was talking to my kids about is, my grandparents used to preserve food, canned fruit, It's
that's
not really.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people
it's not
are saying,
really such a common thing anymore.
Yeah. A lot of people actually, a lot of the stuff I'm reading is about preserving food and stuff. But there again, if you're going to get if you're losing your home in a flood or whatever, it's again heavy to carry. But I would say yes, to start doing that,
Exactly.
I would say, because I think, where we're looking at now as well, and I think all over the world, it's so obvious what's happening. This is not like, what happened at Y2K. That was just a big rumor. Right now, we are seeing shifts happening. We are seeing what the controllers are doing to create division, etc. amongst us.
Yeah, completely.
We can see what's happening. And we can see by the rising petrol costs or fuel costs,
unbelievable,
that food shortages are imminent. We just have to look at the rising food prices, not just here, but everywhere in the world. So for that reason on its own, if for no other reason, start growing your veggies, buy your bread mixes, bake and, do whatever, get stuff that you can at least, if you have an open fire, you can cook on it. Yes, exactly. Dried fruits, nuts, stuff like that.
Correct.
That's the kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can also learn to make your own. A good investment between a couple of people that are like-minded would be a freeze dryer, where you could literally, freeze dry foods, vacuum pack it, and store it away. Now, another thing I forgot to mention, what's very important is to have a means of communication. For argument's sake, we have an EMP event or severe electromagnetic storms, which we have been seeing. The Schumann resonance has been off the chart.
Yes.
The geomagnetic storms are off the chart. If you just look at the anomalies in the sky, I've never seen a pink northern light, ever.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely bright pink purple at the moment.
Yeah.
The geomagnetic chart is showing white, which is also off the chart. So we might be hit with electromagnetic waves to such a degree that our phones are not going to work. Good thing to consider would be a good quality walkie-talkie set. If it has a different frequency settings, you could perhaps locate other people that are on the same frequency. And then discuss it among your like-minded friends. Hey guys, not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but in the event, because it's coming, whether we like to believe it or not, at some point we are going to be faced with something.
Yes.
Let's agree to meet in one location. There's strength in numbers. There's strength in numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the biggest thing that we might be faced with in South Africa will be desperate people.
Yes.
Looting,
Absolutely.
violence, because hungry people,
Yeah.
they will resort to anything. So you need to also arm yourself with whatever you can to protect yourself during chaotic events. You know, it's everyone's in shock for maybe 3 to 5 days, and then it just goes south. So you have literally 72 hours to get out of densely populated areas to a place of safety, and then from there take stock and then make your decisions not based on emotion but based on critical thinking. That's the very big thing. People are obviously emotional after a huge event, but you must remain calm so that if you're in charge of, like I have children, my husband and myself, we will need to remain calm to consider the safety of our children. And if you're an A-type personality, if people look up to you and you're a leader type, stay calm. Make decisions that will benefit everyone around you, not just yourself. So I think that is the main solution to an impending pole shift.
It sounds good. You know, it sounds good. Honestly, I think as you say, at some point it's going to happen. None of us know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But even if it's not in our life journey, it will be in our children, grandchildren, whatever. So it's really good just to create this awareness, because we've all, you know, our spirits have all chosen to be at this time. We are all spiritually prepared for this. So we just really need to integrate that into our physical bodies. And we really just need to say, okay, cool, we are here in challenging times. All the signs are pointing in the area that this is happening. We can't deny what is anymore. So let's rather just do the intelligent thing and prepare ourselves. Because, you know,
there's a saying that goes, knowledge is power, but wisdom is knowing how to apply that knowledge.
Yeah, wisdom is knowledge applied. Yes.
So we need to just educate ourselves and carry on that, pay it forward. Now, don't keep it to yourself. If you only wake up 1 out of 10 people or 1 out of 100, if that person can take something good from the discussion, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know,
like
that's how I see it.
It's like the flame of a candle lighting another. It costs you nothing to have other candles being lit from your flame. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, Joanne, wow, what a great, we're out of time, yeah? Thank you so much.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise, definitely. Really good to see you again. And thank you so much for sharing
Thank you to the listeners.
Your wisdom, your knowledge with us, because as I said, and we all agree, I think everyone watching this channel all agrees that these are critical times. We are in a very crazy mindset, whether it's polarization or the end of the world or the Antichrist taking over. Guys, does it really matter at the end of the day what is going on? But I think what we really all understand is that the world is changing. Let's, there's a beautiful saying that says, who was it that said it? It's not the most intelligent of the species that'll survive, but those that can best manage change.
Exactly.
So,
and be kind.
No matter how clever you think you are, it's really about being adaptable. It's about being able to move with the times, go with the flow, and, as you say, apply critical thinking at critical times, and your
Exactly.
spirit needs to be strong. So spiritual intelligence right now versus artificial intelligence. Spiritual intelligence versus artificial intelligence. Always go for spiritual intelligence.
Our
Honestly.
emotional intelligence needs to rise, definitely,
Yes. And we're
along with that.
We're going to do so through truly connecting to spirit in the true essence of the way, and
Amen.
allow that to guide you, because then you'll know exactly what to do in the right moment, in the right time. The miracle that is all our birthright, miracles that are all of our birthright will then happen in those moments.
And also listen to your animals.
Brilliant idea. Brilliant point. Not idea, brilliant point. Animals are telling
if you see the animals leaving, go.
With the tsunami in Thailand, right? As well, I was speaking when I was living in Thailand. Spoke to a lot of the Thai people then. What they said was those elephants started walking uphill days before tsunami arrived.
Yes.
So,
well, they have sound sensors built into the soles of their feet, so they can feel ELF waves, extreme low frequency waves, days before. Dogs can hear a storm 70 kilometers away. So
absolutely.
Our animals are really like messengers as well from God. I do believe that.
Totally. They're very tuned in, and we should be connected with them. Just seeing a last comment here from Angie. I'm going to walk in the woods today and gather things for medicinal tinctures and teas. I love that. You see? There you go. Thank you so much for taking the talk on board, because that's exactly, honestly, and I was actually going to say that. So thank you for reminding me with that comment, Angie. I was going to say things like teas, to take your dried leaves or roots or whatever it is, because something like a tea that is full of nutrition, and all you really need is water. You just get water, your water purifying tablet,
100%.
and you can do what you want, even if it's cold water, no problem. You're still getting that nutrition in, stuff like that.
A good thing, the last point that I did with my kids is go on a hike now and then. Train yourself, take your backpack, pack it, and just go for a hike. It's a really good thing. Take the kids, put their backpacks on, and just go for a hike.
Brilliant idea, actually. Wow, brilliant idea. Get them used to nature. With all these city kids nowadays. I mean, I'm a farm girl, right? So I'm used to nature. I always make sure that I'm going to find nature. But there are so many people, and it's actually frightening how many people don't know the first thing about even putting on a pair of walking shoes and going for a 30-meter hike in the forest.
A simple thing like making a fire, Chantal. It's basic things.
Guys, this is stuff really, like, as you say, I mean, in South Africa, we've got blitz. We're lucky we have blitz. Blitz is firelight. If I can get my blitz, I'll be happy. And my lighter.
Oh, that's a good one. Everyone with a pack of blitz in the back. We sorted.
Exactly. Okay, blitz, by the way, for our international guests, is a South Africa, we barbecue. Braai, Ons braai op 'n Sondag. We braai on a Sunday. We barbecue on a Sunday. So, and blitz is the firelighters. I don't know, you guys probably have it too, but it's the firelighters that we use, but it's called blitz. Blitz vannacht. Blitz is very quick. So blitz vannacht. So it's like the whole funny Afrikaans thing. I know you got to live here to understand it. But anyways, blitz is well known amongst us South Africans. Boy, we just take our blitz wherever we go.
Exactly. Here we go. We're
going to light our fire with our meshies.
Oh, I love it.
Seriously, on a serious note, It's so important. And I love what you're saying there. I love what you're saying. That is so practical. And it's not just about fear-mongering, packing your boxes, get your bag. Any minute now, when the alarm goes, we're out. No, take them out. Take them walking. Take yourself
Make it
walking.
natural. Make it natural.
Exactly. You know, anywhere, no matter where in the world you live, if you live in the city, you can go out a few kilometers, walk on the side of the road for a kilometer if you must. You know, just get used to being there, walking, putting something on your back, the backpack, plus minus the same weight as what you would be carrying ordinarily.
Yeah, in the case of an emergency. So I follow this family in Sweden, and they have a ritual. Every 3 weeks, they take their bug-out bags and their emergency stuff, and they drive out to the woods and they go camping with the kids. And it's such a natural thing, and they allow the children to use the equipment, help set up camp. They ask them to do critical thinking skills. How would you do this? Start the fire. And as your children grow, you obviously give them more advanced responsibilities. So obviously you're not going to ask a 5-year-old to start a fire, but you can ask a 5-year-old to help pitch a tent. You know what I'm saying? So different skills, different ages, and they do this so regularly. They check their bug out stuff regularly, make notes of what what is expired. Obviously, another thing that you need to consider is having sufficient fuel to travel in case there are fuel shortages. At least 1,000 kilometers worth of fuel in jerry cans or whatnot. Again, these are things that you keep hidden. But that family to me was such a great example of being prepared and keeping it natural, no fear-mongering. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch. And at the end of the day, they pack up, go home, and the kids are all wiser for it.
Well, I really think that that's important, and I've really enjoyed this super important conversation today, Joanne. So again, thank you so much. And thank you to all our viewers out there. And if you haven't already, please watch our previous interviews with Joanne, some very, very interesting talks we've done. Ask Mornay or Thea if they can just put that in the link or in the comments or the description area as well. Catch your previous interviews with us. And and it's really just a beautiful way to get yourself prepared. No fear-mongering. Change is imminent. You know, so we just got to go with change, and we've got to evolve with the change. You know, we are little ants on Earth, on this massive, beautiful planet. And I think if nothing else, we will realize the power of nature. And if anything, that is the most humbling thing. And we can get back to our roots in a modern day world. So thank you for that. Yeah. Angie again, dandelion greens even growing cracks in sidewalks. It's true. I'm fortunate to have a garden. That's true. So she was saying the dandelion greens. Don't know what happened there.
Me neither. Just read it. Dandelion, dandelion is, I mean, one of the best medicines you can find, you know. So obviously, if you like me, into naturopathy, you will have an arsenal of natural medicine to your behest, and just store and vacuum pack as much as you can. That's seeds, anything, you know.
Absolutely, seeds, indeed.
Exactly.
Okay, I like, and for me, I love things like dried fruits, nuts. So that sort of stuff, I find it very
energy burst.
Very energy. This, like peanuts, even if it's just peanuts, you don't have to get the cashews or the pistachios, that cost
and big salt content, people tend to forget that you lose a lot of salt if you dehydrate. So if you do pack peanuts, give it a quick couple of turns with your Himalaya salt, and that way you won't get cramps.
Or even just to put a little bit of natural salt in your water. I mean, if you have a 5 liter big water,
even in your
you're
coffee.
not making it salty. Yeah, you're not making it salty, but you're just adding the minerals to that. So stuff like that, you know, and have your rehydrate.
Bulletproof coffee. If you know, that you'll only do when you have electricity, but bulletproof coffee is a great thing to do to get natural fat and salt and everything.
Yay, good. Thank you so much. Look forward
Thank
to
you, Chantal. Thanks to all the listeners.
Benefiting from this. I hope you guys have enjoyed our chat, and just, let's prepare. We'll meet each other on some floating icicle somewhere.
We'll walkie-talkie each other.
Hey, where are you? over and over.
3 clicks.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Chantal. Thanks, guys. Bye.